All right. Are you ready to dive into the world of Shaka Zulu?
Oh, absolutely. I've been looking forward to this one.
You brought us this documentary, and it is
In a
amazing.
fascinating period of history.
Yeah, it really is. This guy, Shaka Zulu, what a story. Ambition, military brilliance, a legacy that people are still talking about all these years later.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And it's not just about one man either. I mean, it's a window into this really pivotal moment in Southern African history. Think about it,
Yeah.
18th century, like massive change, upheaval, traditional ways of life are being challenged, new powers are emerging.
It sounds like the setup for just this dramatic rise to power.
Oh, totally.
And the documentary really captures that. Like, you get this sense of the Zulus, right? A Bantu people living in what is now South Africa, and their lives completely intertwined with cattle.
Yeah, cattle were everything.
Not just food.
Right, not just food, but like wealth, status.
It's a measure of influence, power, even a kind of currency in a world where resources were scarce.
And there's constant conflict between these different clans. So yeah, it's a different world.
Not a time or place for the faint of heart.
Definitely not.
And it's into this world that Shaka's born. But his story, I mean, it doesn't begin, with a silver spoon or anything. He's the illegitimate son of a chieftain.
Yeah, talk about a tough start.
Which, back then, you can imagine, made his early years anything but a walk in the park.
Oh, absolutely. Born outside those traditional norms, he and his mother faced some serious rejection. Like, they were essentially cast out. They ended up finding refuge with the Momtithwa clan.
Wow. So, I mean, you can't help but think how those early experiences, right, shaped a young man's outlook.
In a society that really prized strength and resilience. Yeah, it really makes you think.
Almost like a comic book origin story.
I know, right?
The future leader overcoming adversity. And even as a kid, the documentary mentions his potential as a warrior was pretty obvious.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe with a side of, let's just say, a strong personality.
Yeah, there's this story from his youth he sent on a raid with other young men. And, well, let's just say Shaka's idea of following instructions was a little different from everyone else's. But it showed that he was already thinking like a military leader.
Uh-oh.
Skilled, yes, but also with a certain ruthlessness that would definitely come to define his reign.
Yeah, you can see those early hints, a potent combination. And when his father dies, all that ambition, all that drive for power, it really comes to define those early years of his rule, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
There's a power struggle. He doesn't just inherit the throne. He fights for it.
In 1816, yeah. With the help of those Mthethwa allies, he outmaneuvers his rivals. Yeah. Seizes control. It wasn't, some bloodless transition of power. It was a calculated move that sent a message. Shaka Zulu was a force to be reckoned with.
Wow, yeah. It's like he steps onto the stage and he's ready to shake things up.
Oh, totally.
And he wasn't content with just, maintaining the status quo. He wanted to transform the Zulu Kingdom, something bigger, something more powerful, something that would rewrite the map.
That's a good way to put it.
And it all started with his approach to warfare. It was revolutionary.
Oh, yeah. This is where we really get to see Shaka's military genius.
Yeah.
He didn't just inherit an army. He completely reimagined how they waged war.
Well, and the documentary really emphasized that point, talking about his focus on the ikwa,
Right.
the shorter stabbing spear,
Yeah,
instead of that traditional assegai, the throwing weapon.
exactly.
That's so interesting to me. It seems like such a small detail.
Easy to overlook.
But I have to imagine switching up your weaponry like that, it had to have a huge impact on the battlefield.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it totally changed the game.
Hmm.
The assegai effective at a distance? Sure.
Right.
But up close? Not so much.
Yeah.
So by introducing the ikwa, Shaka, he basically transformed his warriors into this terrifying close-quarters fighting force
Wow.
perfectly suited for his strategy.
Which?
Overwhelming the enemy.
Oh, I see.
Just speed and aggression, total shock and awe.
And then on top of that, you've got this incredible bullhorn formation. It's like something out of a military textbook.
Seriously, like Shaka was writing his own playbook.
Amazing.
Picture it, thousands of Zulu warriors, right? Arranged in this massive crescent shape.
Okay, yeah.
The strongest, most experienced at the center.
Makes sense.
They're the chest. They deliver that first crushing blow.
Oh, wow.
Then on the flanks, you've got the fastest warriors.
Okay.
The horns, they encircle the enemy, just overwhelm them before they know what hit them.
It's brilliant.
Brute force and tactical genius all in one.
Wow. No wonder so many armies just crumbled before the Zulus.
It's true.
But Shaka, I mean, his genius wasn't limited to just, like, what was happening on the battlefield, right? He reshaped their whole society.
Yeah, he knew a strong army, it needs a strong foundation.
Right.
He challenged traditions, especially when it came to, like, social mobility. So traditionally, in Zulu society, where you stood, it was all about your lineage, your family.
Yeah, who your father was and all that.
Exactly.
It's kind of like that, even today, in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
But back then,
Huge deal.
yeah.
But Shaka, he saw past that.
Mm-hmm.
He starts promoting individuals based on skill, loyalty, merit,
Wow.
not just who their fathers were.
I bet that went over well with some folks.
It wasn't always pretty, let's just say that.
Yeah, you can imagine.
But that's how he built this whole new class of leaders, loyal, totally dedicated to his vision.
A powerful Zulu kingdom.
Exactly.
He was creating something totally new.
What's a good way to put it?
From the ground up, almost.
And he understood to do that, he needed control.
Right.
And that's where you get into this whole centralization of power, right?
Yeah, the documentary talked about that, how he consolidated his control over pretty much every aspect of Zulu life.
Everything, economy, land, cattle, even challenged the authority of the witch doctors.
Wow.
I mean, he brought religious and political power under his control. Can you imagine?
It's like he was building an empire in his own image, almost like a Roman emperor.
That's a really good comparison.
It's hard to separate that ambition, that drive from, well, the violence and upheaval that also defined his reign, right?
Yeah.
The Memphicane, this period of widespread chaos, displacement, it's heartbreaking.
It really is.
And the documentary doesn't shy away from those darker aspects at all.
No, it doesn't.
Because while historians might debate the exact causes, Shaka's wars, the displacement of all those people, it played a major role in the Memphicane.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
really makes you think even the most ambitious dreams can have these unintended and devastating consequences.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's a lot to process. And in the middle of all this, you have another force emerging.
Right.
The Europeans.
Oh, yeah, they're about to enter the picture.
Which is a whole other layer of complexity.
Huge implications for the Zulus.
Totally. The documentary touches on these early encounters, traders, adventurers.
Yeah. And you get these glimpses into Shaka's court, but seen through their eyes.
Right, it's like outsiders looking in.
Yeah, and those firsthand accounts.
Yeah, like from Nathaniel Isaacs.
He was that English trader.
Right, he actually lived among the Zulus for a time.
Wow. I mean, for historians, those accounts must be pure gold.
Absolutely, so valuable. Although,
Of course.
you always have to consider potential biases.
Right, everyone's got an agenda.
Exactly. History is rarely black and white.
It's true. More like a puzzle with some pieces missing.
That's a great way to put it.
But it does seem like, even with all these outside contacts, Shaka, I mean, his focus, it really stayed on consolidating power.
Oh, absolutely, and expanding the kingdom.
Right, that ambition never went away.
Never went away.
But as his reign went on, the documentary portrays him as, I don't know, more unpredictable,
Yeah, definitely.
more reliant on brutality to keep control.
It's a side of him you really don't want to see.
Yeah, and it sounds like the death of his mother, Nandi, was a real turning point. It was devastating for him. I mean, they were incredibly close.
Yeah, the documentary really emphasized their bond.
To lose someone like that, so central to your life, it changes you.
Absolutely. But for Shaka, his grief, it manifested in some really terrifying ways.
Yeah, he imposed these periods of mourning on his people.
Oh, wow.
And any perceived slight against his mother's memory, any hint of disrespect, real or imagined, was brutal.
Wow. I mean, that's a side of leadership we don't often talk about, how grief can warp even the strongest will.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder about the true cost of ambition.
It does. And sadly, like many figures in history, Shaka's story doesn't have a happy ending.
No, it doesn't.
1828, betrayed by those closest to him.
His own half-brothers. Can you believe that?
It's a reminder, isn't it, that even in the midst of great power...
You're never truly safe.
It's true.
And for the Zulu Kingdom, Shaka's assassination, it's the start of a whole new chapter.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Zulu Kingdom doesn't just disappear, does it?
No, they had to face all new trials. Power struggles, the Boers are arriving on the scene, and then, of course, the looming shadow of the British Empire.
Wow. Talk about facing impossible odds. It's really amazing when you think about it. The Zulu people, their strength, their resilience in the face of all that.
It's incredible.
But Shaka's legacy, I mean, It's complicated.
For sure.
This visionary leader who modernized his nation's military
Right.
left this huge mark on southern Africa, but also inflicted so much suffering.
It's that duality, right? It's hard to reconcile.
It is, and maybe that's where the real lesson lies.
What do you mean?
Well, history, it doesn't offer these easy answers.
No, it rarely does.
It challenges us to look at those complexities.
Makes you think about leadership
Power, the choices we make.
and how those choices echo through time.
It's a good reminder that the past, even when it seems so far away, it still has a lot to teach us.
Well, that was quite a deep dive.
It really was.